Hi everybody, we have Kim Howard here with us today. She is a Director of Netball at Hamilton Girls High School here in Hamilton. And she came from the Sunshine Coast in Australia, where she was heavily involved in netball over there. She's been a rep coach for women's netball, schools, and also age group netball. And she was the team manager for the Sunshine Coast Lightning team with head coach Dame Noeline Taurua. How are you today, Kim?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for offering your time. So you've got a pretty big background in netball and in sport in general, especially over in Australia. So we're pretty lucky here to have you in Hamilton and bringing all that knowledge over to us. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your sporting journey?
Yeah, sure. I actually grew up in Porirua in Wellington, and you know, played a bit of sport, basketball and netball, softball in particular. I always sort of thought that I wanted to give something back to sport because it has the opportunity to take you to places you wouldn't normally go and meet people you wouldn't normally meet and stuff. So after I stopped playing, I coached mainly basketball, to be honest. I sort of went that way because back in the day you had to choose, and then I had children that played netball, and to be honest, I used to sit on the sideline and think, oh my goodness, you know, what's going on? And so I sort of gave myself a bit of a slap and said, if, you know, rather than sit there and criticise, do something about it. So I got into coaching netball, and the first netball program I sort of set up was in the Hawke's Bay,
yeah,
at Taurua High School. And then sort of from there ended up in Australia just through circumstances with hubby's work, global financial crisis, all that sort of stuff. And so I got involved in Australia and in school programs and rep netball. And then, of course, I had the opportunity to work with the Sunshine Coast Lightning and with Noeline, and which was an amazing experience. I will talk about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to come home. To be honest, I've loved Australia, and Australia gave us a great lifestyle, for which truly grateful. But the truth is that from the time I got there, it was kind of like, I'm only going to be here for 2 years, and now I'm going to come home again. And 2 years turned into 11 years, and me fighting that calling to come home. And anyway, opportunity knocked, and here I am in the Waikato and absolutely loving every minute of it.
So yeah, we're very lucky to have you back here, and hope to have you, you know, really involved in the centre, and maybe come and do some coaching for us one day.
And which I'd love to do when I can fit that in.
Yeah, I bet. So what is your so you're a Director of Netball at Hamilton Girls High. What does that involve?
So Debbie Fuller and I believe Ruth came in and talked to the principal and things here, because, you know, we're a school of almost 1,800 girls, and netball is our most participated in sport. So we didn't have somebody that was dedicated to netball. So they really got the wheels in motion and laid a fantastic foundation for what we were going to build our program on. And I've just come in really, and my job now is to put that plan into action. So what the netball program is at Hamilton Girls High School is that it is actually a program. Don't call it, it's not an academy, and it's not an excellence program. It's about inclusion, and it's about looking after our netballers, whether you're a social player or whether you're a premier player. But in saying that, we want to be excellent. So, you know, it's not about focusing at the top end. It's about delivering a sustainable program. So we're building from the base. We're including everybody that wants to play. And so down the track, you know, we will be rolling out teams, hopefully, that can compete. And so that's pretty much what it is. So we have, before COVID, I think we had about 35 teams this year. Now, even though that's a lot from coming from one school, when you've got 1,800 girls, there's scope for there to be so many more. You know, so we want to keep building it. We want it to be bigger, and we want to be able to produce more teams. But unfortunately, with the COVID impacts, we've actually already lost 4 teams, and we potentially may be losing some more as we get into the back end of our trials that are just starting and stuff. So that's what our program looks like. I look after the administration, as well as I do a fair bit of the coaching of some of the teams. We were going to start school sessions, so we have early morning training sessions for juniors on a particular day and seniors on another day. That's sort of not going to start now till next term. You know, we're a little bit all behind the 8 ball and things like that. So, and our school sessions are designed to improve individual skill bases. They're not team focused stuff. And they are open to absolutely anyone in the year groups that wants to come along and just improve their skills. So that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that concept of including everybody, and especially I remember talking to you about like the friendship teams that you thought of bringing in. I thought that's really awesome, to try and get as many as people involved as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think, we call our social teams friendship teams, and, you know, they get the opportunity to decide who they want to play for and whether they want to train and all of that. But we still absolutely support them to do that and things. So, and, you know, we've named all of our teams, as you know, we've named all of our teams after past and present Silver Ferns and stuff. And our top 2 teams are HGHS Williams and HGHS Langman. Those are our 2 premier teams. Now, you know, when you think about Waikato amazing players, those 2, and I mean no disrespect to any other Silver Fern that's been there, but those 2 are the 2 that our players of today relate to. And so we basically put those 2 names in a hat to decide who was going to be which. But in my mind, as a coach of both of those teams are equally as good. And the other thing too, probably to explain, is that probably to Casey's family, is that we're HGH Williams because we wanted to be able to involve that whānau name in terms of, you know, rather than the married names, and we've done that with all of the players. But our social teams have been named. We've got one of our social teams is HGHS Taurua, and you know, so we've got some great names with our social teams and our friendship teams, as well as our premier teams, and all the way through.
Nice, I love that. It's an awesome concept. Coming back to New Zealand, what do you think the biggest difference between sport in Australia and sport in New Zealand is?
Well, okay. So I can only really speak for netball because I wasn't involved in any others. But I think there's certainly a difference in the style, as we all know. Australia play body on attack and body on defence, and New Zealand plays space on attack and space on defence. So that was one of the first things I noticed when I got there and started to coach. And I think also in Australia, and I don't think this is unique to Australia, but female athletes, you know, they have to work twice as hard to get half as much. And I remember the first time I went into a lightning training session, and I was sitting on the bench next to Noeline, and what happens is that they have a staggered start, so all the local players will come in first and the internationals come in later. And all of the local Australian girls came in And as soon as they just started to train, the intensity level was through the roof. And it was really exciting to be part of that energy. And just not like they just push each other and they knock each other around, and they're playing for a spot, and they're ruthless about that. And even though that might sound awful, it's actually, what's great about it is that they walk away at the end of it and they're still best friends, or that, you know, no one's offended by that, because that's just kind of their mindset. And that was one of the things I noticed about the way that the Australians actually train, is that they're pretty ruthless and they just go pretty hard out. Now, I can't compare that to what that's like in a high performance environment in New Zealand, of course. But I've been able to bring it back here, and you know, like, we have to learn, I think, to be able to train like that, to be able to put each other under pressure, to not be offended if somebody knocks you over, or, you know, here we need to learn that if we want to be the best we can be, because, you know, no one's going to step aside on the netball court and say, hey, here you go, you can just have that, you know, that it's so we never know how good we can be until we really put under pressure. So I'm trying to bring that back into this environment as well, you know, just to know how to work really hard, know how to you know, really perform under pressure and stuff. So that was another one of the differences, I think. I love being back here. I love to see how female athletes are treated. I think female athletes in New Zealand are treated with so much more respect, the respect they deserve in New Zealand, which is beautiful to see. Not so much in Australia, I don't think, but so it's but the biggest thing for me, being involved in netball, was the style difference, and being able to look at taking up the best of our game and the best of their game, and coming up with something that resembles, you know, which is the best of both. And I think that is probably what we're looking for in terms of a point of difference and stuff with what we're doing here, being able to amalgamate the best of both worlds, I guess.
Nice. It's really it's really interesting, just that how they train differently and take things differently.
They're really hard working. You know, they're just, it's just all in, and that's so and I'm sure they're the same here, you know, without a doubt. I just haven't been in this environment over here, but I
guess there's a lot more people to compete with over there as well. Being a bigger population, there's probably less chances of getting in.
And you know, it's really interesting too, because it's the whole way that it's structured is so different from here. So school netball isn't really a thing in Australia, or not in Queensland. Kids play club netball, and they play rep netball, and that's how the talent ID system kind of starts. It's school netball is it's just not anywhere near like it is here. Which I think is quite sad, because, you know, I love the school rivalries, and you know that, you know, there are certain schools that, you know, are amazing schools, and, you know, you want to get there, they're the benchmark and all that sort of thing, and that they don't have that kind of crosstown rivalry that we have here, which I think is a great thing in terms of school spirit and all of that. So that was one thing I really missed when I was coaching in schools in Australia, is, you know, it was I mean, there is competitions that you aim for, which is similar to UNIS and things like that, but because of the sheer number of teams you're dealing with in Australia, only two can go from, you know, each part of the state, so it makes it quite hard to break through and things like that. And the other thing, in Australia, you have a netball association every 12 or 13 k's, you know, so just down the road, and then just down the road from them is another one. So it's very, very different.
So what was your biggest learnings working with Dame Noeline Taurua? What was your biggest learnings with working with her?
I could go on all day. So I remember one of the things that she said to me when I came on board, because, you know, I hadn't been involved at that level, and I certainly hadn't been a manager as such. But I remember she said to me, I'm a really easy person to work with. And that is the absolute truth. You know, she has this way of making you feel like you know that she trusts you.
Yeah.
She has faith in you. She just makes you feel really empowered. And because she does that, you just never, nobody ever wants to let her down. I know that I certainly did not want to let her down. She used to often say things like, to everybody, what's your job? And basically what that is that she trusts everybody around her to do their job. And so because she does that, everyone does their job to the very best of their ability, and she gets to do hers. And and that's what I think she's quite unique in making people feel valued and empowered. And I loved it. And I'll tell you a little story, because when I remember it was my first rodeo, and we'd had a couple of home games, and now we were going to hit the road, and I was responsible for all the logistics and stuff. And I don't know if you know the Sunshine Coast, but there's only one road in and out from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And if there's an accident or anything happens, you're held up there for hours. So anyway, we planned this day to leave at some ridiculous time, 5 o'clock in the morning, for a 10 o'clock flight that gave us 5 hours. And no sooner had we got on the highway, but we were in an accident, and there was an accident ahead of us which held us up. The bus driver said, "It's all good, Kim, it's only going to be 20 minutes, and 20 minutes turned into about 2 hours. And then he took me aside and he said, "We're not going to make that plane." So anyway, I was busy organising to get on another flight and what was going to happen, and we had players that were already at Brisbane Airport waiting for us, and there was a whole lot of things going on. And I remember thinking, oh no, it's my first away game, and now I'm going to have to go, and we're going to miss the plane. It was you kind of put yourself under that pressure, because like I said, you just never want to let her down. And I got inside the van, and she was sitting there, and I said, hey Knowles, we're not going to make the plane, but I've got another plan. And she says, oh yeah, what is it? And I said, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And she said, sweet as, mate. Like you can kind of, there was just no stress about it. It was like, it's all good. This, can't help it. It's not your fault. Yeah. It's not anyone's fault. It's just whatever, it is what it is. And that just, to me, I always remember that, because it was just, some people could have reacted very differently, so there are some coaches out there that are very highly strung who would have got really stressed out, that would have passed on to the athletes, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But she was just an absolute dream to work with.
Nice.
Yeah. One of the other things I think too, that I, and this really, this is quite prominent in my thoughts, was just the way that she treats people. She, you don't hear her yelling and carrying on the sideline and stuff. She just, she just treats people with absolute respect at all times. And on that, it doesn't matter whether you are an athlete for her, or whether you're the cleaner, or whether you're the CEO. She just respects everything and everyone that's on the journey, and I think that's been an amazing thing, because that just generates great energy all around and stuff. So
definitely.
Yeah,
must have been an awesome experience, and you get just being around people like that, you can learn so much, and then end up acting like that yourself, putting that in your
for
own.
sure. Like there's so much I've taken from the environment that I was in with her, the way that she manages things, and I've just learned so much from being in that environment. I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to be with her for that time, and and just it's just a, you know, it was just a whole nother way of looking at things and how you can do things that in turn make people feel valued and empowered and trusted, and you know, like you know, what's your job, you know, what's your job, we're all doing our job, you know, and if we're all doing our job and we're doing it to the best of our ability, it's kind of like, how can you fail, you know? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, she's just a, if someone asked me to describe her, Knowles, she's just simplistically brilliant. That's how I think about it. You know, she'd often say things like, honestly, it's not that hard, or she'd say, you know, it's simple really. And you know, she was so right about all of those things. So everything, you know, everything that she did was just simplistically brilliant, you know. And so thank you, Knowles, for the opportunity. I'm truly grateful.
Yeah, and it's good that that we have you having all her knowledge, and now you're here in the Waikato is like really exciting time for us.
Oh, that's nice of you to say, but I'm certainly don't even come remotely close to her, but you know, she talks about, you know, values when you build your culture. She talks about values, and with Knowles, you live those values. You know, we're not paying lip service to it, and I think that's probably one of the most important things, is that, you know, you know, it's we live our values, and there's no negotiating that. And I think that's been one of the biggest things, as well as you know, because that's your integrity. That is who you are. And the other thing that she always said to me, she'd always say, you know, just speak from the heart. You know, just when you're talking to people, you know, be authentic, come from, you know, from your heart. And so that's something else too, you know, is that I've learned a lot about that too. Just never mind trying to be what you're not, eh?
Yeah. A lot of a lot of coaches that I've spoken to, like through these interviews, have said exactly the same thing, and that's what they try to instill in people, is just to be yourself and be happy with who you are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So back to like Hamilton or just sports here in the Waikato and the COVID-19. How do you think that the virus and the pandemic is going to affect our sport?
Yeah, well, it's already financially, it's already impacted our sport. So it'll be, you know, how do we recover from that? And, you know, the other thing too is I'm sort of from a current situation, I know that for us it's impacted our season, so it's impacted our numbers and all of that. So and we saw also with the tactics, you know, with, you know, mainland netball, you know, the absolute devastation at that end of the scale and things like that, and that, which has been really devastating. But I'm really hoping that you know, we have a bit of a silver lining and we can rebuild, and the government's, you know, funding for sport and for netball and stuff is, you know, enough for us to get back on track and maybe even come out of it even better. I'd love to think that we could do that and stuff. But you know, for us here at school, it was looking at, you know, what if we can't play this year? What are we going to do? So we were looking at, and much like yourselves, I'm sure, what's plan A, what does plan B look like, and what does plan C look like? To make sure that we are all doing our bit to make sure our kids still have an opportunity to play and to love the game. You know, that was it, to enjoy playing and remind them of their love of the game, because, you know, it could easily have gone the other way. But, you know, the fact that we're having a season, we are really, really excited about that, and really looking forward to it, albeit shortened. But again, it's about making sure that we give our kids opportunity and remind them for their love of the game and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're even though it's a shortened season, I'm pretty sure that we're a lot better off than other places in the world. So we're pretty lucky there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a real shame for you know, for Biko and, you know, all of the ways that it's impacted so negatively. But I just hope that, you know, the silver lining is that, you know, sometimes, and, you know, like, and not just about netball but life in general, sometimes we just need a little bit of a reminder of what we have, and you don't often get that until it's taken away from us. So you know, we can you know, hopefully bounce back better and and enjoy it more, and be a little bit more thankful for the life that we've been privileged enough to have, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And before, we'll probably wrap it up here. But before we go, is there anything that you want to, any tips or anything you want to give to our community before we head off?
I don't know. I think the community probably needs to give me some tips. I feel like I've been gone a really long time, so you know, I don't know what I don't know. But and also, like, even playing the game, and you know, like, unfortunately, you know, for us, I don't know what the benchmark teams look like. So I'm really excited to get Hamilton girls out there against some of those benchmark teams, and we happen to have the New Zealand champions just across town. So really looking forward to getting an opportunity to play against them, just to see, you know, how far off the mark are we, how much work have we got to do. We're hoping to, you know, organise some games against, we're hoping to get to St Kitts. That was already on the cards before COVID happened, so we're going to catch that up. We're going to get to Manukura, and just really to see where we're at. I need to see what does netball look like, because I've been away for so long. I need to see what it looks like. So the community can give me lots of pointers and stuff, because I would be very grateful for that, and stuff. And, you know, as we build our program, we're trying to build our program and our profile and our reputation here at Hamilton Girls High School. And you know, hopefully, you know, we will post COVID-19, you know, we'll have an opportunity really to sort of start to get out there and produce some quality teams, and really look forward to the season. But thank you guys there for all your hard work, because like I said to you before we started recording, you know, it's been a logistical nightmare here at school. I can't imagine what it was like for you guys. So thanks very much for all your hard work, and for allowing us to have an opportunity to play. It's awesome.
No worries, it's our pleasure. Can't wait to get started and see you all down at the courts with all your teams, your 30 teams.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be there.
Thank you so much for your time, Kim, and we'll definitely catch you this season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.